I'm going to show you a marriage counselor. Here it is. I call this the marriage counselor because it allows people to play the guitar and get the same tone as if you were playing really loud, only you don't have to be really loud. By the way, I'm Garth Weber. It is the 24th of June. I'm in Berkeley. Lovely day. Hope you guys are all well. And so, in 1976, I was playing in a nightclub one night, and we were on break, and one of the waitresses came over, and she turned this knob that was mounted right in the middle of the wall, turned it counterclockwise, and I heard the house music come down. And so I had, some electronic knowledge in those days, not very much, but I knew that what that device must be, that knob that she was turning, I knew that must be a speaker volume control, because it was too far from the closet where they kept the amplifier and whatever they were using to put the house music on. So I knew that wasn't controlling the amplifier, it was controlling a speaker. And I thought, well, that's exactly what I need, because I want to crank my guitar amp up because that's when it sounds good, but I'm going to be too loud if I do. So the next day I went to an electronics store, and probably Radio Shack or a place called, well, there was another chain in those days. And I found this thing called an LPad. Now, I had a 20-watt Ampeg amp. It was a GU12. It was a little 112 size amp, kind of about the size of a boogie. And but I couldn't turn it up as much as I wanted to. In those days I was playing lounges, and we really had to watch our volume. So I took the thing home, I wired it up, and it was a 20-watt LPad. And since I had a 20-watt amp, I thought, perfect, they're made for each other. Well, what I didn't realize is that they did not intend this use for this device, this LPad. They intended it to be, to make your, if you had a speaker in your den that was connected to your stereo system that was in the living room, then you could turn the volume down without having to go in the other room and mess with the amplifier. So I burnt the LPad up within 15 minutes because I didn't realize that how it works. And the way it works is it takes some of the signal that's coming into it from the power amp of the amplifier, and it is shunting off some of that voltage as heat. So essentially it's just resisting the electricity from getting to the speaker. It's wasting power, essentially, is what it's doing. And that's good, because then you can crank your amp up to where it sounds just right. In the case of a normal Fender amp, I would say 6 or 7 is where they kind of start to really sing. But then you can turn the output of the speaker way down, so I can get my tone, the same tone I get on a gig when I'm playing super loud. I can get that in my studio here at the volume of a TV if I want. You do have to be careful not to burn them up. I've burned up probably 20 or 30 of them over the years. I've had many, many of these things. I burnt one up in Germany because I hadn't thought ahead that they use 220 volts over there, and so they gave me a Marshall head to use, and it was a 200-watt Marshall, and I was playing, and I kind of smelled something, but I didn't really think anything of it. And then the drummer, Patrick Ford, was yelling at me, Garth, your box is on fire. And I turned around and I looked, and smoke was coming out of the LPad box that I'd made. And so it was dead. So the next day, I'm in Germany. I'm in some town in Germany. I went to an electronics store, and they had the same exact brand and same model. So I just bought it, and I don't know why I didn't buy 2 or 3 of them to, be on the safe side, but I didn't. And so I've been using them ever since. And what they do for you is they allow you, as I have said in a previous video about tone, they allow you to saturate the power tubes in the amp. Now, if you're playing through a typical master volume situation, then you're overdriving the preamp tubes, which are the small tubes. And by the way, in my previous video, I mistakenly called them the power tubes. The preamp tubes are little tubes. They're about this big, They're usually, in most amps, it's called a 12AX7A, and then the signal is preamped by those tubes, and then it's sent to a power amp to greatly increase the voltage of the signal. And if you don't drive those power tubes into saturation, you'll never get this kind of tone that I like. It's this touch-sensitive kind of a tone very similar to Robin Ford, Larry Carlton, that type of thing. You know, it's not a super rocked out metal tone or anything like that. But it's aggressive if you want it to be. But the advantage is you can, when you turn down, everything cleans up and you get a very sweet, clear tone. But when you want to rock, you crank your guitar up and you will get as much distortion, as much saturation as you want, but without being too loud. Now, not that I'm sometimes not too loud, because I know I am. It's a battle that guitar players fight. Almost all of us who play blues, rock, it's a constant battle to control your volume and yet satisfy yourself and enjoy your tone. So anyway, that's a little bit about the LPad. I do make them, and I don't mean to be self-serving here, but I make them and sell them for like $100. Now, there are a lot of devices on the market that supposedly do what the LPad does, but I've never encountered one of them that does it as well. They all have some kind of side effect that isn't good. So you can try them. There's a THD hot plate, there's an Altair attenuator, there's a thing called a power brake, and a whole bunch of other ones. And I have not found one that I like as much as this inexpensive solution. So if you want to know more about that, you can write me on Facebook or put your question in this YouTube video, and I'll attempt to answer it. Okay, hope you're all doing well.